Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to talk about today's lesson. Hopefully, though, you have already completed your warm-up. If not, you need to pause the video and take care of that and then come back. Your warm-up is already on your table and it looks like the one that you see on the screen. So our objective for today is still talking about the three laws of motion and differentiating between each one. Specifically, we're going to focus on the second law though today. So what I need you to do for your warm-up is look closely at the graph in the picture and answer the three questions. So if you haven't done that yet, I need you to pause the video here, complete the warm-up, and go over your answers with your teacher. And now that the warm-up is over, and hopefully you all have the complete answers written in your binder, we're going to move on to part 2 of today. So you should also have a paper triangle, and we are going to make a foldable just like the triangle foldable we made about a week ago. So the last triangle we made was a speed triangle. This triangle is going to be for the second law of motion, or for force. And if you remember and you look back in your Newton's laws foldable, force equals mass times acceleration. That's what the second law is. So what you're going to do is we're going to take some of this information and we're going to make our triangle. So I'm going to skip around just a little bit. Take your triangle and fold it like the triangle we folded last week. And after you make your folds, I need you to follow these instructions. And if you need help, raise your hand so your teacher can come around and help you. The first thing you're going to do is, having the triangle facing you on the table, you're going to write F at the top corner for force, and you might want to write the word too. M in the lower left-hand corner for mass, and an A in the bottom right corner for acceleration. Once you're done setting that part up, in the middle, you're going to write what a force is. And the definition of force, you should know, is a push or a pull. Underneath that, write mass, which is the amount of matter in an object. And then last, the definition of acceleration, which you know, which is any change in velocity, speed, or direction, which means, in other words, you're speeding up, slowing down, or changing directions. And you all know this already. So all we're doing in the center of our triangle is writing the definition of all of the words that are variables in our formula. So we have force equals mass times acceleration. If you need more time, just pause the video. But what you're going to do next is you're going to turn your foldable over to the other side. And on the other side, just like the speed triangle that you did, you will put a multiplication symbol at the top. And remember, a multiplication symbol can be an X or a dot or a little star. And then in the two lower corners, you're going to make a division sign. In the center, we're going to write the formula for force, and that should say force equals mass times acceleration. Underneath that, we're going to write the units that are used for each variable. So like I said, this should sound very, very familiar because we did the exact same thing with our speed formula. So force is measured in newtons. So please write force equals N and write newtons next to it. It's also written up here if it's maybe a little bit more clear to see. Underneath that, you're going to write mass equals grams and a lowercase g, because that's how we measure the mass of an object. And then last, you're going to write acceleration equals meters per second squared. And that's just the unit that we use to measure acceleration. And this is very important. So you might want to write this down or make sure it sticks in your brain. It doesn't mean that you square the number. The square is just part of the unit. So if the acceleration is 20 meters per second, the answer is 20. You do not square the 20, okay? So you just leave that little 2 alone. It doesn't mean any extra math. And underneath all of the measurements of units and your formula, you're going to draw the force triangle, just like you did with the speed triangle. So the force triangle looks like this. Make sure F for force is at the top, mass is the lower left, and A is the lower right. Because remember, your triangle foldable works the same way that this small triangle works. And so if you need to catch up or go back and repeat any instructions, remember you can just pause the video and ask your teacher nicely to go back and help you. Otherwise, remember how we use the triangle. You cover up the variable that you're looking for. So if the word problem is asking you for force, you cover up force and you look at what's left, or you fold down the force part of your foldable. And what you're left with is M and A next to each other. So that means you multiply mass times acceleration. If you're looking to find the mass of an object, you cover up the mass and it shows F over A. You divide force divided by acceleration. Okay, so it works the same way as your other foldable, but now we're just solving for something else. So you're going to make sure that your triangle foldable is done. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to move on to this worksheet. If you don't have one, please pause the video and make sure that your teacher gives you one. So all this is doing is utilizing your triangle. You might want to draw the triangle in one of these upper corners. Please put your name on this because you will be turning it in. So all you're going to do is read each of these very short word problems. For example, number 1, how much force is required to accelerate a 2 kilogram mass at 3 meters per second squared? Identify what you have. So it's given you the mass, it's given you the acceleration. Use your foldable to find out your units and what you have. And also figure out what is it asking for. It's asking for force. So if you use your triangle, okay, it tells you force equals mass times acceleration. So all you would do is multiply these numbers, 2 times 3. And so for number 1, the answer is 6, but remember you need a unit, 6 newtons. All of these things that you need can be found using your foldable. So please do that and work efficiently because you are turning this in and you still have an exit ticket to complete today. And this is all for a grade. So effort is very important, and your teacher is going to write down for me any names of people who are not 100% on task. So please raise your hand if you have any questions or you're confused by something, and your teacher can help you. But you're working all the way through this worksheet using your force equals mass times acceleration triangle. And if you finish, you need to bring it up to your teacher so she can collect it and check it, because then there will be something else that you're going to work on afterwards. Remember that you may use a calculator, but if you are using your technology for any other reason, okay, she's going to take down your name or she will take your device from you. So make sure you're on task. Please use your triangle. It's here to help you, okay, and it makes things much, much easier. So finish your work. Make sure you're doing a good job. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.